On Clean Beats 91.5 FM Abuja, where music meets clarity. My name is Itoha. Roundtable comes up weekdays from exactly 8:30 a.m. We start off with the covers of the newspapers. We look at the dailies. What are they talking about? Trending stories. And then we get into the discuss for today. For Wednesday, we look at everything as it concerns your health. So stick with me as we go on a jolly good ride. Weatherman says 23 degrees across the capital. It's quite cold. Most areas. Thunderstorm expected much later in the afternoon. That's what the weather outlook looks like. This beautiful Wednesday morning, the 8th of July 2026. If you're just joining us, if this is your first time, welcome. It's a roundtable on Clean Beat 91.5 FM Abuja. You can be part of the conversation. WhatsApp 0903 5915. That's 0903 5915. Take us everywhere. Even if you're in a taxi listening to us and you want to continue, come on, we're there with you. If you do not have a physical radio, listen live at www.cleanbeat915fm.com. All right, let's take a look at the dailies right now. We'll begin with the Daily Times. Well, start with something very interesting. Stop rehabilitating insurgents. Integrating them into military, Senate cautions federal government. Haven't we been talking about that? Stop rehabilitating insurgents, integrating them into military. Senate cautions federal government. Well, they began sitting yesterday, so it's been a lot of talk. Top of Daily Times, you will see PFIPC no petition before Senate, says spokesperson. For some business, equities investors gain 1.87 trillion naira as market extends bullish run. If you want to get everything concerning business, we look at business, the business scene Mondays on the round table. So all of the big stories that happen during the week, we'll look at them, touch them beat by beat to give you a little bit of an expose or at least something to understand about it. That's what we do here. Never miss the roundtable. Never miss the roundtable. Moving on with the Daily Times, ADC demands full access to Aero 5 for family, lawyers, medical team. And that's it from the Daily Times this morning. Moving to The Nation. The Nation newspaper lists with Tinubu orders comprehensive probe of fake federal agency. Tinubu orders comprehensive probe of fake federal agency. Still with that story, ICPC gets 30 days, emphasis to submit report. Gbaja Biamila threatens 10 billion naira defamation suit against Adeyemi. Okay, I believe we've seen that already. Senate likely to adopt retaliatory measures against South Africa. I would have loved to give you details a bit, but it's quite small and my glasses not here, so I can't really see the print. Moving to the top of the nation, more pressure on abductors to free Orire victims. They're about 52 days in captivity, right? Such a sad one. NRS targets 50 trillion naira tax revenue by December. Well done. Row among lawyers over leaked memo suspending NBA election. That story is on page 4. And terrorists killed in Katsina as ISWAP chiefs surrender. Well, that's it from The Nation. Moving on to The Guardian. The Guardian has this picture that shows a lot of motorists trying to navigate flooded areas. Anxiety as planned expansion may affect 2,700 buildings and 10,800 homes. Speaking about the Lagos-Calabar Highway. Anxiety as planned expansion may affect 2,700 buildings, 10,800 homes. You see a lot of people trying to navigate the flooding in Lagos. Nigeria's population growth may worsen sanitation crisis. AFDB is warning Nigeria's population growth may worsen sanitation crisis. Senate rejects Boko Haram rehabilitation, says justice must prevail. Senate, if you can help us at this point, we would love it. Thank you. 2027 APC pleads with substituted aspirants to shelve litigation. Still with The Guardian, Oyo abductions pressure mounts as operatives close in on abductors. Xenophobia, despite outrage, Senate rejects reciprocal action against South Africa. Okay, despite outrage, Senate rejects reciprocal action against South Africa. Well, I really don't know how they're looking at it, but again, we hope they're the ones representing us, right? Okay. NBA cites autonomy rejects AGF's intervention in officers' election. Still with The Guardian, police confirm probing 30 political killings ahead of Oshun Guba polls. At this point, I'm just looking at Oshun with one eye. Like, is all of this leading just because of the governorship election in less than a month? Wow. And also PFIPC, Tinubu orders ICP probe as Senate distances self from controversy. All right, moving to Daily Sun right here on the round table. Orire school children, that's what Daily Sun leads with. Credible intelligence aids tracking arrest of abductors associates. Akpabio laments continued captivity of pupils, says insecurity threatening investment food security. All of this you find on page 4 and 6. We need less talk and more action. That you would agree with me. Tinubu gives ICPC 30 days to probe PFIPC and submit reports. On page 28, Atiku knocks federal government over padded 2026 Almajiri Commission budget. Commission explains listing of constituency projects outside National Assembly allocations. Well, you continue the story on page 6. It's a lot. Trust me, I don't even know how to summarize for you, but you need to just, digest it one after the other. Ekpe Mukpolo rallies support for Tinubu, says reforms working. UTM FLNG signs 15-year gas sales agreement with NMPC Seplat Energy JV. That's a good one for gas supply, if you ask me. Xenophobic attack. Senate seeks fresh diplomatic guarantees for Nigerians in South Africa. Now we're talking. NBA rejects Attorney General's alleged order to postpone 2026 elections. And that's it from Daily Sun. Is 8:39, the roundtable on Clean Beats 91.5 FM Abuja. Moving on to Vanguard. Vanguard leads with insecurity. Halt rehabs. Try Boko Haram members. Senate tells federal government. Mourns General Abubakar. Others demand tech-driven security overhaul. Army detains 2 surrendering terrorist commanders in Borno. And that's update from security. Nigeria's LNG exports hit 20.06 trillion naira as global trade reaches record high. Tinubu orders ICPC to investigate the fake agency. Oyo school kidnap. Security forces trace abductors network associates. And we're here, they're arresting some of them. Well, looks like there's hope, right? For the rescue of the victims. Alleged sexual harassment. Protesters ask Senate to suspend ambassadorial nominees' confirmation. Details on page 9 of Vanguard. You'd also see over 18 million Nigerians exposed to flooding. NIHSA warns, says 2,000 hectares of farmlands, 8,794 educational facilities, 3,808 healthcare facilities will be submerged. That's a big warning. We should take that seriously. Finally, from Vanguard, xenophobia. Senate threatens diplomatic action against South Africa. Orders fresh probe. Moving to New Telegraph. New Telegraph leads with xenophobia. Senate demands probe into attack on Nigerians in South Africa. Wants protection for citizens in Rainbow Nation. Declines call for federal government to take over MTN DSTV In fact, these organizations have come out to say that these companies belong to Nigerians. Ghana defers Ramaphosa's visit over anti-migrant attack. Honestly, I don't know what South Africa is doing at this point. Anyhow you want to defend them, it won't sound right. Again, moving to other stories with New Telegraph. What else are they tracking? This one says President can take over state police if abused. Barrow, President can take over state police if abused, says Barrow. That's you'd also still look at that story. Alleged misconduct, PSC, that the Police Service Commission punishes 35 officers. You'd also see here National Assembly bill proposing 16% slash in NCAA revenue sparks industry row. Zooming in, you'd also see poor remuneration. Agency lost over 60 inspectors and others. That's another trouble brewing there. You'd also see here stop integrating repentant terrorists. New Telegraph tracks that as well. 2027 coalition demands Christian deputy governor in Niger may seek alternative elsewhere. That story is on page 7. And alleged abuse of office, RFI's trial stalled as ex-governor insist on new judge. Well, that's it from New Telegraph. Moving to Daily Trust. Daily Trust leads with Tinubu 6 answers over Phantom Council. Phantom in quotes. Daily Trust. Not to do. Anyway, this one says National Assembly inserted road projects into our budget, our Marjorie Commission. What's going on? National Assembly inserted road projects into our budget. Our Marjorie Commission speaks. Xenophobia. Lawmakers threaten sanctions against South Africa. And a very gory story here reported by Daily Trust. Woman burns boyfriend's daughter to death. That's bizarre. Hope she stays behind bars. She shouldn't be around human beings. That's so sad. Be careful the people you go into relationships with. It can be devilish. Still with Daily Trust, Senate to federal government stop rehabilitation of repentant Boko Haram members. And police detain Kofi over allegation against Katsina government. Kano Commission retires judge over bribery. And 4 senior police officers sacked, others demoted. They must have done something really terrible, trust me. Well, moving to the Punch newspaper before we get into the discuss for this morning. The Punch leads with Tinubu orders 30-day ICPC probe. Senate rejects blame. Still with that story, anti-graft agency to probe alleged forgery, impersonation, bank accounts. Since we're getting conflicting reports from 2 different agencies, so let's have the truth. ICPC would help us with that. Police release Adeyemi's father. Thankfully, because it was reported yesterday that he was in detention. And also, thankfully, the NBA and some senior lawyers, senior advocates of Nigeria, spoke up, insisting that if he wasn't a person of interest, why is he in custody? Well, good news this morning says police release Adeyemi's father, continues search for embattled DG. Go after the culprits, please, or the suspect. Senate insists 1.3 billion naira budget line not inserted by lawmakers, declines intervention without petition. All of this, as it concerns fake agency scandal and what the Senate discussed yesterday on page 2 of the Punch. Still with the Punch, Dangote breaks ground on $17 billion Kenya refinery. Warri PH refineries ex-MDs face trials. Grab some popcorn. This one's interesting. Over alleged $989,630. Okay, that's 1.42 billion naira fraud. Wow. So there's the dollar 1 point, and then naira the other end. This will be interesting. Well, we just hope that investigations continue and they tell us what they found. At AEFCC hands over 1,452 recovered items to Unity schools. Well done. 36.2 million Nigerians at risk of acute food insecurity. If we do not deal with flooding quickly, that might happen. And Ogun records 161 deaths from 415 road crashes. And like I mentioned yesterday, please be careful, especially if you're traveling by road. Tell your driver to apply a little bit of caution. Your life is very important. Finally, from the Punch, State Police Tinubu names Baja Biamila AGF to implementation committee. That's the reason, page 28. All right, that's it. Well, these are the stories the dailies are looking at this morning. When we return, we look at suicide prevention. Is Health Corner on the round table? Stay with us. Good morning. We'll be right back.
Life in Abuja comes with its rhythm. We amplify it. We celebrate it. We broadcast it. All day long. Clean Beat, 91.5 FM.
Do you know the NDLEA offers certified drug testing services?
Need a drug integrity test or visa clearance certificate?
For employment, visa processing to Thailand, Malaysia, or India, school admission, court use, or just peace of mind.
Good news, you can do it all from the comfort of your home.
Just log on to drugandvisa.ndlea.gov.ng.
Create your account, pick a test date, choose your location,
and get your certificate fast, safe, and verified.
No agents, no queues, no paperwork.
Apply direct, get your clearance, travel free. This message is from the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA.
Drugs bring heartache and pain. That's why we're doing this campaign. They draw you in, thrust you out, and leave you begging for mercy, for currency, and that one last drag with no dignity. Drugs have no gain. They bring nothing but shame. Reach out, seek help. That's why we're doing this campaign.
This message is brought to you by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA.
If anybody give you banana, sky, if sugar daddy give you cocaine, run, give you skunk, give you loud, tell you send I want drag, chase, that's how you take start, hey, what's in my eyes don't see. Simba, what you cool, Simba. No be say, I know they hear when them say, make I stop. Hey, I know if it stop. I swear I want to stop. Somebody help me stop. If anybody give you banana, sky, hey, whether na school she, Simba, what you cool, Simba.
The news that matters, the music that lifts you, and the voices that speak your language. This is Modern Radio. This is Clean Beat 91.5 FM Abuja.
This is The Round Table with Itoan.
Morning. Welcome to Health Corner. Wednesdays, we look at everything concerning your health. The roundtable comes up weekdays, Monday through Fridays from 8:30 a.m. and we have different themes for different days. So always remember to catch up with the dailies as early as 8:30 and then we get into the discourse for the day. Well, today we're looking at suicide prevention. It's a conversation that a lot of people find very difficult to have. And we're talking about suicide very, very importantly. Giving you some statistics, Nigeria records an estimated 15,000 suicide deaths annually, and this translates to more than 300,000 people in suicidal distress each year, many of whom are left without safe avenues to seek help. A professor of psychiatry at Obafemi Awolowo University said Nigeria ranks 6th globally amongst countries with the highest suicide rates. Men account for nearly 79% of suicides, while women are more likely to struggle with suicidal thoughts. Now, behind these statistics are real people. Every time I see data, I see people, often young, carrying pain in silence, convinced that they are a burden or that nothing will ever get better. And here in Nigeria, stigma makes it worse. Today, with the help of my guests, we want to break that silence gently, responsibly, and give hope to people who need it. Well, my guest is Coach Femi Johnson, and integrative mind body master teacher, performance coach, and peace advocate with 35 years across 4 continents. Coach Femi Johnson is an integral health and human development specialist and master teacher who unites yoga, Tai Chi, energy, and somatic practice, martial arts, and transpersonal coaching within a psychosocial spiritual framework. He is CEO of Claire Global Resource classical martial arts. You need to see him with his stance. Really, really cool. And president of the Abuja Peace Club. He helps people and organizations build calm, capable, purpose-driven lives. He joins us online. Good morning to you, Coach Femi Johnson. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much, Toa, for the introduction. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us despite your busy schedule. Now, let's begin. What exactly, do people think about, or what comes to mind when you hear things like suicide and all of those? Is it something that can be prevented? Let's start from there.
Yes, of course. When you read out the statistics, I had a very big awakening. I always have this anytime we approach such matters. I think before we define anything, we need to also, put it right there for those who are listening that suicide is not a character flaw. It's not a psychological. It's not a psychosis situation. You're not mad. You're not weak. And you're not alone. It's simply a condition of overwhelm. When you have a psychological overwhelm and you're unable to deal, in NLP, we say when you don't have the resources to deal with life situation, you may now think that, oh, this is a window for me to get out. All right. So I like the theme when you say prevention. It's very important that if we can work towards preventive measures, then we can also reduce the statistics that you just read out. Admittedly, admittedly, we live in a country where the public system or the social structure is so laden with a lot of pressure, social cultural pressure, economic pressure, political pressure, and people who are unable to deal or who cannot disconnect themselves, well, not totally disconnect, but kind of manage the situation, think that suicide is the only way out. And this is unfortunate. So we need more education, we need more awareness, we need to conscientize our people, for them to see that once in a while, there are phases that you go through. And it doesn't mean it will lead to the end of your life or you have to take it yourself, but you can actually seek help or get support so that you can also be supported. I mean, you can walk through the transition easily.
All right. Now, from your perspective as an integral coach, what does holistic well-being mean, and how does it, translate or relate to mental health?
Oh, thank you so much. Ideally, I look at, as a holistic health coach, I look at life from basically 4 domains, which we call the biopsychosocial and spiritual lens. All right, these are domains or layers of the human being that determines the ultimate output. For instance, biologically, if somebody is feeling that has protracted loss of appetite, doesn't sleep well, has sudden fatigue, neglect, and all that, at the biological level, you may be seeing symptoms of suicide tendency or something that is leading to depression and from depression to suicide. Psychologically, when you're experiencing a huge sense of hopelessness, feeling like you are heavy, you are burdened, and you're alone, and you suddenly feel, you know what, I think I'm choked at this point. That psychological effect could be an indicator. Now, for the social, when you notice that a person is withdrawing from social circles, from friends, from family, from community, even faith gathering, this is an indication that this person can be suicidal eventually. I'm not saying immediately, but protracted descent into this kind of area can actually lead to suicidal tendency. And then the last one is spiritual. when you feel, oh, what's the purpose of life? I don't even know what I'm doing. My life has no meaning. Has God abandoned me? You see, these are the indicators that can engender suicidal thoughts or tendencies. So the biopsychosocial spiritual lens is what I use to determine or decipher if there is any indicator whatsoever, and then we can begin to address it.
Okay. Now, Coach Femi, is it true that people who have suicidal thoughts are just looking for attention?
Uh,
Yeah, 'cause, that's what
yeah,
some people that's what some people assume, that they're looking for attention.
It's
Yes. Everyone's dealing with a
everyone.
problem. What's so special about yours?
Exactly. See, that's the thing. It's a misconception. Unfortunately, the truth is that we're all humans, right? But we respond to stimulus differently based on our background. It could even be at some point genetic. Maybe you have anxiety disorder in your family, and so as a child or as a young adult, you have this energetic print that you already carry from your parents, and so these things are there. But when, let us assume, societal pressure or work pressure or marital pressure, whatever pressure comes in, it can trigger this expression. So it's not a matter of looking for attention. It's just that we should acknowledge that we are all humans, but we have different responsibility. That's why it's called responsibility. All right. So it's responsibility to deal with pressure that determines if somebody becomes easily suicidal. As a matter of fact, most of us, if not all, will have had or entertained suicidal thought once in a lifetime, somehow along the line. But but you still talk yourself out of it. So you know what? It's not necessary. Yes. So it's really not about attention seeking. Okay. Seriously.
All right. What are other myths that are associated with suicide that you want us to also learn about? I just talked about one. We just discussed it. Seeking attention. What are other myths that people also think about that are there, but people are quiet about it, but it's available when talking about suicide?
Yeah. One of the major myths is that people think that those who are suicidal are weak. Or they are selfish. Exactly. That you are a weak person. Why can't you just, suck it up? Are you not? I have gone through worse things. Look, it's like grief. We grieve differently. A family may have two kids. Let me even say twins, and then they will respond to their upbringing differently. Maybe they have a very high-handed dad and a loving mom. Whatever situation you paint, they can grow up and take different lessons from those upbringing and express them differently. So one myth is sign of weakness. It's not a sign of weakness. It's just a sign of overwhelm. And anybody can actually be in that position at any time, at any point in life. All right. Some other will say they are selfish. What if you die and leave your family behind? What about your kids? You are not even thinking about them. No, it's not about selfishness. It's simply because at the point they are, they could not access any resource to help them get through the overwhelm. All right.
Yes.
Now, some other myth will say once you are suicidal, you are always suicidal. No, it's a one-off thing. It's a one-time thing. It could be repeated, yes. If not treated well or handled well, a person can become continually suicidal. And I would say this as a coach, a holistic health coach. In my practice, I discovered that most people that are, let me say, who have the tendency, towards suicide, at the bottom, at the very, very deep end, may suffer from low self-esteem. I'm not saying this is the case, right? Generally, but it's a pointer in some cases that there's a low self-esteem, low self-worth. And so when they are involved, when they are met with life's challenges, and they feel that, oh, if I don't do right, people will laugh at me. Or what will I even tell my parents? Imagine a young boy who, because he fails the exam, is going to commit suicide. We've had cases like that, even in Abuja here. Why should I feel that? What will my father think of me?
That's right.
You see, these are indicators of low self-worth, low self-esteem, and a feeling of inadequacy. You see, but I'm not saying that this is the same for everyone. For everyone, there could be a different trigger, as we say.
Okay. Coach Femi, this is Clean Beat 91.5 FM Abuja. If you're just joining us, we're looking at suicide prevention and we have a coach on air. You can send in messages, questions via WhatsApp 09030005915 so the coach can just give you a quick response to it. All right. So, Coach Femi, during my introduction, I mentioned from statistics that men account for nearly 79% of suicides, while women are more likely to struggle with suicidal thoughts. Now, what drives men? This is huge number. What drives men to always think about things like this?
Yeah, I think thankfully June was the International Mental Day for Men.
Mental health
Yes.
month, yes, for men.
Mental health month for men, yes. And I've spoken about, quite a number of places about men's health. You see, the image, the statistics are not wrong. The reason being that society at large has ascribed a lot of responsibility to the men folk. The what do we call the chauvinistic or the machistic tendency that men have to take charge, men have to carry the responsibility.
Men don't cry.
They don't cry. They have to suck it up. They have to provide. Has pushed men, like you notice in the statistics, has pushed the rate of suicide high. Right, even financial
responsibility,
bankruptcy, responsibility can be a source of can be a suicidal source for men. Men who feel that if I'm not able to provide for my family, then I'm worse than an infidel. I'm sure even in our faith belief, some of them, there are indicators that say that a man who cannot provide, so but we have forgotten that a man is also a human being with feelings, with emotions, and all of that. But we think that they should be superhuman suddenly. And so that puts a lot of pressure on the men folk. And when you contrast that against other issues, maybe political, even marital, where the woman feels entitled and say, you know what, I don't have to do much. You are the one that came to marry me, like we used to say. So you should take all the responsibility. Now, that puts the man in a very tight corner, and that puts a lot of pressure on him. So that statistic is not actually wrong. But the point is, we need to rewrite the narrative. We need to reconstruct the social expectation so that men can also feel loved, feel inclusive, feel understood. All right. So that's the area I think we need to work on.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I love how you broke it down. Let's talk about isolation and loneliness. I know you talked about a few signs before. You talked about someone who isn't sleeping well, someone who isn't eating well. Isolation and loneliness also play a very key role. How do we spot this? How do we spot this and not think that the person is just trying to have a quiet time so the person can think? Because some people cover it up with, I'm having a quiet time. I just want to think about a few things and I'll be fine. But how do we spot isolation and loneliness for someone who just might be going through or having suicidal thoughts?
Yeah, I think most often, like there was a case of a celebrity who just passed on I think about last month, who most of his friends who are on the online said that they've been trying to reach him for days. He said, when even they call him, he said, I'm fine. Now, there's no one size fits all, but the major, let me say an average pointer would be, if it's somebody that you know that is boisterous, he's an outgoing person, it's an extrovert, and suddenly he withdraws, and over a period of time, a protracted period of time, let us say a month and two, and nobody is able to reach him, he doesn't come out as much, and when you do engage him in talks, maybe he will speak in monosyllables, and then if you pay attention to the choices of words that they use, for instance, my brother, I'm just tired. I think he's just tired. I can just leave now. I'm even tired. Now, those are indicators. The way they speak, what they say exactly, how they say what they say. All right, for somebody who's an extrovert. All right, there are times where you really want to take a break. You want to have a me time. All right, and then reflect and all that. But it shouldn't be protracted. That's the point. But on the other side, on the flip side, if it's an introvert, now these are guys who are very, very a bit difficult to deal with because ab initio, they are not the outspoken type, all right? They are not the expressive type. Now, if you are somebody who is close to someone like that, you need to notice their body language. You need to notice their tonality. When they move, do they just shrug, have this hunchback posture? Do they drop their shoulders unnecessarily? When you are speaking to them, do they look down? They are not engaging you, all right? Visually, in their tonality. How assertive are they? Yeah, because we have all this spectrum of personality, but again, it's not one size fits all. But as an expert or somebody who is aware, just notice that when somebody is doing something that they are not usually doing over a protracted period of time, there's cause to try and step in. If possible, try and see if you can reach them. Maybe they want to talk about it, because catharsis is one of window that can help relieve depressive thoughts.
Okay.
So it's not the one time fits all, but we can look at the signs.
Okay. Now, good thing that you just spoke about the signs. For someone who just realized that, wow, it seems like I know someone with these signs that you just talked about, how can they help them? Or what's the first thing you would advise that they do to help such a person?
Yeah, for a non-trained person, because most people, like I'm a first aider, I'm a mental first aider, so I have some training. But for those who are just ordinary everyday person, when you notice any of the signs that are not fixed, not adding up, so to speak, ask direct question. My brother, are you all right? Say yes. Okay, so what are you going through right now? Most times they just want to talk. They just want to express. They just want to be listened to. They just want somebody to say, oh, I notice you and I want to know what's going on with you. That's the first step. The second step is to listen without judgment. Listen without judgment. Whatever they say, it doesn't have to make sense to you, because it makes sense to them. So just listen and say, oh, I see. Show empathy or be empathic, so that they can have that sense of release. And okay, at least I don't think I'm mad. I mean, somebody has just listened to me. And then the third thing is to see if you can help them to get help. All right, don't leave them alone. Maybe tell a parent, tell a friend, see, the way I'm seeing this guy, I think, or this lady, I think we need to get the person help, because I have noticed X, Y, Z. Most times you'll be shocked that other people have noticed the same, signs too, but haven't taken any action.
Okay.
And so action is the first thing. So you ask direct questions.
All right. So I'm still speaking to Coach Femi, who is joining us online this morning, speaking about suicidal thoughts. It's 8 minutes past 9 o'clock. A question just came through for you and says, what are the ways family members can create safe space and also stop putting pressure on children, especially when it comes to career choices, and also ensuring that they pass examinations with flying colors that might not be achievable once?
Wow, that's a very big one. And I think the first step is to speak to the parents. Because if you look at it, most parental approaches or parental styles is based on how they were raised ab initio.
That's right.
And so when the parents felt that the way my dad taught me, he used to flog me if I don't pass. So why should my son say I should not harass him when he doesn't do well? Now, times are changing and the society is evolving. It is the duty of every parent to become more aware and re-educate themselves, so that they don't pass unconsciously. Most of the time, what the parents do are actually out of love, or acts of love, and and all that. But they've forgotten that the age when they were raised is different from the present day we live in. And so the parents have to be educated. There should be conscious awareness, education, and re-education. And that helps us to reconstruct in a way, because if we can do that for each family unit, we can now rewire our social expectation. Passing well academically doesn't make a child a more functional human being. You remember that earlier on we used to have there was a very deep demand on intellectual intelligence, what we call IT or IQ. All right, but now people have discovered that emotional intelligence is actually much more valuable, and it goes deeper and helps children to become more functional adults. So the point is, academics alone cannot define your child, should not define your child. you should look at other aspects. Is he a kind person? Is he an empathic child? Does he relate to others well? All right. Does he have a functional? Does he have a functional engagement with other his peers? So I educate the parents first, and that will cascade down to how they engage with the student. But if you do have families who are going through this kind of issues, then they should have to seek professional help. If it's possible, if the child or whoever, an adult, can actually reach out to professionals and say, look, I noticed the way they pressurize these children in this family. Is there a way we can help them? Not in a way of interference, but in the way of bringing their attention to the consequence of pressure on these children that could lead to other unfavorable coping behaviors. Or because that's what leads some of them to begin to go into drugs, some into prostitution, some into keeping even the issue of gangsterism or cultism. Sometimes the child just wants to escape. They need an outlet to make them feel a sense of belonging, so they go there. So these are some of the ways we can actually help families going through such kind of situation.
Okay. Now, some persons may say that I don't know if I'm saying the right things. I don't know if I'm asking the right questions. I might just trigger something else if I say this to this person who I find struggling. So how can I approach or ensure that I'm approaching this person with care, with love, so that they can see that actually I want to help them?
Approaching people to when you notice something is actually a very sensitive thing, right? Yeah, because the truth is everybody feels that I'm doing right by myself.
That's right.
But you as a mirror, as a neighbor who can see what they don't see of themselves, you have an obligation. It's not a right, it's just an obligation to say, hey, I notice, I think the approach is the best way to go. The way you approach them, if they can see that you're coming from a loving, concern angle, they are more likely to listen. If you can approach them from a more familiar, because you can't just walk up to someone that you don't even say hello to in the first place, who was living in your neighborhood for years, and say, hey, I've noticed that your child is not behaving well, or I noticed that you're not a good parent. No, that won't work. You need to also step up a bit in terms of making them feel comfortable by your own association. All right. And then coming in to raise those observations in a very loving, non-judgmental, and probably, it could even be like a joke, or it could be like a passing comment, and something that is not pointing accusing finger to say, I think you're not a good parent. The approach is very important. That's why it's good to learn how to communicate properly in all situations, whether to friends, associates, and all. So your approach, your communication approach, it's very important. That's what will determine whether they will listen or not.
Okay. I like how you spoke about communication approach. So there was this news report that broke out, was it last year or the other year? I can't remember the year right now. But it spoke about two young boys who had destroyed their mother's iPhone. And then they just told themselves, you know what, mommy is going to kill us, so we might as well just do it ourselves. Unfortunately, they jumped and they died. You can imagine, because they realized that they had destroyed their mother's iPhone, which was expensive, and their mother was going to have their heads for it. Probably just beat them and just punish them, but they realized that they couldn't just take whatever their mother was about to met on them. Unfortunately, that family was thrown into chaos and pain. So how can parents also say the right words and not create that kind of environment for children to think that they are not loved and accepted, even while correcting them?
Yeah, exactly. I think the method of correction is very important. As a conscious parent, I like to use that word. As a conscious parent, when kids step out of line, the first approach is to ask them, why did you do this? Because until you know the intention behind the act, you actually be punishing them unjustly. So when you ask the question, why did you destroy the iPhone? They say, oh, we're trying to see what is made up of. Now that tells you that the intention was curiosity, not to, exactly, not to make mommy angry, not to disobey what mommy has said. So, and they are just kids. And what do kids do? They want to explore. They are adventurous. This is how most of the scientists in the world have been. I mean, this is how they emerge from being curious to being adventurous, and then the world has moved. The world has become better for it. So parents should learn that kids don't actually personalize their behavior. That I'm going to do this so that my mommy will be angry. No, they don't. They are still growing. Remember what science says. Psychologists also agree that they are still developing. Their frontal cortex is still growing. They actually can't fathom some things or the consequence of some things. They just feel that, oh, there's an opportunity here. Let's see what is going on behind the phone. Let's see how we even see pictures. Let's see how we make videos. And that's what they're doing. So parents should be a bit more, they should be a bit patient with their kids and approach them from the mindset of curiosity. Why did you do this? And when they explain and you are in a very receptive mode, you will see that, oh, they actually meant well, because in NLP, we say that every behavior has a good intention.
Okay.
However, it may not be from your own perspective, right? But from their own perspective, they are trying to do something that they feel is good. So until you step into that shoe, and if you can't step into that shoe, you ask the question, why did you do this? And so that's a very key thing that parents should take home, please. It's very important, because the way you approach them when they step out of line will determine how they will behave going forward. Maybe they will not become more reclusive. Maybe they will not become more, what's the word again? Yeah, reclusive, and then they hide things from you. That's why most kids don't tell parents anything. Because if they tell you what they did and they know that you could be judgmental, they will rather not say anything, and they go through it all alone, and then they get advice from peers who don't really know much because they're on the same frequency. And then you now say, oh, but I've trained this child and I don't know why this child is turning out this way. I think it's partly our fault, the way we communicate. I come back to that word again. Communication is the key to functional relationship.
All right, Coach Femi, as we begin to wind down gradually on the round table this morning, some people believe asking for help is a sign of weakness, okay? And how can we change that perception?
Yeah, I mean, with programs like this, the more we have programs like this, the more we have advocacies, we have engagements in the public space to say that, look, seeking for help it's not because you are weak, but because you want to remain strong. The truth is, nobody has all the answers, except you want to play God. You don't have all the answers. And so because you've acknowledged that you don't have all the answers, it is natural for you to seek help when you are clueless, when you feel overwhelmed, when you sense that you have no idea what next step to take.
Okay.
Call a friend, call a brother, call a sister, call a neighbor, call someone that you know, well, I think they might have an idea of what I'm going through. That's why you have mentors or mentoring. You can call a mentor, you can call a coach, you can call a expert and say, look, I can go online. I mean, now it's even very easy. Just go online, check, okay, I have this issue. Who can I talk to? There are a lot of mental health first aiders online. There are a lot of emotional coaches online, grief therapists online. So you can call. Even in Nigeria now, it's beginning to take center stage. People now understood that grief, emotional overwhelm, all of these things are not something that is out of this world. Everybody go through it, right? Society has taught us to suck it up. Our social cultural construct, unfortunately, up until now, is a bit of reductionist, in the sense that you don't talk about it. You don't need to talk about it so that they don't think that you are coming from a weak point. But we are now beginning to understand that it's okay, it's fine to seek help, and it doesn't make you less of a human. All right.
Okay.
You're just somebody who wants to be strong and you need support.
Okay. At what point can someone also seek help from a licensed mental health professional? For instance, someone walks up to you and says, "You know what? I'm tired of life. I want to end it." Is that a first pointer to say, okay, you need to see a licensed professional, or what else? What else do we look out for and say, look, it's time for you to see someone with a license to help you?
Yeah, as soon as you begin to deviate from your normal daily or normal life activities, a protracted window will be like usually between 1 to 3 weeks. A week can be, oh yeah, I'm trying to go through a reset. I want to rearrange myself. I want to reevaluate my life. 2 weeks, yeah, but once you begin to go into a 3-week window, 21 days about, and you are persistently in that mode of helplessness or hopelessness or inability to see what's next for you, then that's about the time you need to start talking to someone. And you know what? I've tried to deal with this for a week and nothing is coming up. 2 weeks, I think I should get help. Going to the 3rd week, you should speak to someone who can help you clean your mirror so you can see properly.
Okay.
Because that's what it is. Yeah.
All right. Now, Coach Femi, I know I need to let you go because you have another meeting coming up. What message would you like to share, with someone who feels hopeless today?
My message is, you are never alone. All of us, no matter how, we have about 8 billion people right now on the planet, and everybody is going through something. But that doesn't make it impossible for you to seek help. You're never alone. There are people who are looking out for you, who love you, who look up to you, who actually model you, unknown to you, could be remote or direct. So you're never alone. Whenever you're going through a tough time, know that it's just a phase. All right, and then it will pass. And if you notice that it's taking too long to transit, then that's when you need to seek help. Be open to support. Be open to love, because the basic thing is that self-love is self-care, and self-care only exists when you minimize self-abandonment, because most people go through life trying to people please, and so they abandon themselves. So when they have issues, when maybe their inner being or their inner child catches up with them, they feel that, oh, I can't talk to anybody because I've always been the one who people have been talking to. No, nobody says that. A therapist will have a therapist. A coach will also have a coach. So it's like that. We are all inclusive in this game. We are all here to support each other on this journey. Nobody should be left out. Nobody is left alone.
All right. Thank you, Coach Femi. Femi, finally, also final advice for families, communities about preventing suicide.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to rewrite the narrative. Our social construct needs to be re-examined. Things like you have to do this. There's nothing that says we have to do anything in the extreme. We must admit that life is dynamic, and so there must be that flexibility or dynamism or inclusiveness in everything we're doing. That's for society at large. So we need to praise our public philosophy. All right, that's on one side. For the parents, it's our duty as parents to seek knowledge. You need to know how to raise this generation of children. You need to step out of the traditional, oh, this is the way my father taught me, and step into, okay, how do I teach these ones who are in this new dispensation? That will help so that you can get the right tools, the right techniques to be able to raise functional human beings.